Okay, so we're going to be looking at the PTE Reading module. We're going to be doing the scoring breakdown. I'm going to put the primary focus on the reorder paragraph though, and you will see why. Let's go! As you know by now, the PTE scoring is not one-to-one, not 1 point to 1 question, and all of the other modules are interconnected, so we need to see how they are weighed. So let's take a look at the 5 tasks. The multiple choice questions are the ones people often ask about, like how important are they? Can we skip it? Can we guess the answers? Well, let's find out. What I did was I took the official mock exam and all I did was answer the multiple choice questions, all of them, and I have the answers, so I know they're all correct. So let's see what I got. 10 is what I got. Don't mind the other scores for the listening and writing, they didn't affect the reading. I did those for a different reason, and I'll talk about those in a different video. So does this mean the multiple choice questions can score you only 10 points? Not necessarily. I don't even think the multiple choice questions can score you the 10 points. The reason is because PTE will give you 10 points even if you don't get 10 points. So that means the multiple choice questions all combined together could be under 10 points, because total they didn't even have 10 questions. So does that mean the reorder paragraphs, reading fill in the blanks, reading and writing fill in the blanks account for roughly the remaining points? Hell no! Remember, I took the exam before where I only answered the reading questions and I only scored 53. Keep in mind I have the answers, so I answered it all correctly. And not to mention I actually did the listening on this one, so remember there is a task in the listening that accounts for reading. So I did it again where I only did the reading. Now I got about 44 points. With no other influences, all of the reading questions answered correctly, I received 44 points. So where are the rest of the points? Well, if you recall in the other videos that I made about scoring, I showed how the speaking could influence the reading and the listening. If you don't recall or you haven't seen it yet, just go back and check out that video. Now the additional thing to point out is that I got 30 points in writing. Of course I didn't write anything, so where did the 30 points come from? That's where the reading and writing fill in the blanks come into play. Remember, the reading and writing fill in the blanks contribute to the writing, and now we see about how much. Now I want to take a look at the reorder paragraphs. The reason is because the way that they score it is a little bit tricky, so I want to show that to you. Now in the scoring guide they say that you get a point for each pair of correct adjacent text boxes. That's all the information that they give us, so I was actually confused on how the hell you can actually score a point here. I heard a couple ways on how the score is calculated along the way, so you know me, I'm gonna test it. Real techniques only. I need it to be proven before I can show it to anyone else, so let's go. So here's the reorder paragraph, and this is actual screenshot on what I was doing for the exam. I did it twice just to test out the scoring. So you should be familiar that we're gonna move this to the right, and then we submit it with the way that we want to organize it. So how do we get points? Well, what I know for sure is that if you place number 1 in the correct position, that doesn't mean anything. You don't get a point for that. Remember they said adjacent pairs, so what does that mean? Now if you put the sentence here that's actually for number 3 and you put it as number 2, well that's not a pair, so you wouldn't get the point here. And that's already been proven, and it's obvious because it's not a pair. So how do you get the point? Well, you need to have 2. 1, 2 makes the pair, and that is the point. And we'll continue on with 2 and 3 makes a point, 3 and 4 makes a point, and 4 and 5 makes a point. So this is the logical way of scoring full marks on the reorder paragraph, and total here you can see there are 4 possible points. And there are actually 2 reorder paragraphs, so there's a total of 8 points here. Now let's take a look at this. We're going back to the one where we didn't get the points for 1 and 2 because 2 was incorrect, it was 3. So what happens if you put 3 and then 4? If you're talking about reorder paragraph, 1, 3, 4 is not in the right order, so I would assume you don't get a point for that. However, what I heard was that even though 3 and 4 are not in the correct position, you should still score a point there because it's a pair. So the second time around when I took the same exact test with the same exact answers, I wanted to test that idea. So what I did was pair it up with 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. Ideally, that should score us 3, 4 as a point, 4, 5 as a point, and 1, 2 as a point. Because 5 and 1 is not a pair, so we shouldn't get a point for that. So let's calculate the points. Originally, when I did it all in the correct order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there was a total of 4 possible points, and 2 reorder paragraphs would give us 8 possible points. So this one here, we will actually lose 1 point because 5 and 1. So total possible points would be 6 instead of 8. Here we go with that math again. I hope you're able to follow me. So how do we prove if we can still score points that way? Well, let's calculate it. Originally, I got 44 points for answering all the questions correct. And from what we calculated, I got 8 points in the reorder paragraph because it was 4 possible points each. And now by adjusting it and putting it out of order but still paired up, I can get a possible of 6 points. So 8 minus 6 is 2. So that means I would lose 2 points. Instead of getting the full 44 points, I would lose 2 because of the reorder paragraph. That would leave me at 42. So when I take the test again, if it is true that we still get points based on pairs and not in the right order, I should get 42. Or I get a 0 for the reorder paragraph and that should put me at 36. So what did I get? 42. First of all, don't mind the listening or the writing score. I use that to test something else and I'll explain it in another video for the listening. But what did this 42 points prove? It proved that we can actually get points without putting it in the correct order. I mean, I guess that's better than nothing. If you can't identify the first sentence, then just start looking for pairs. You won't get the maximum points, but you still get something, which is better than nothing. Now for people that need 50 or maybe even 65, this is good news because you don't have to waste your time trying to put it all in the correct order. You can just start looking for pairs. You can put any pair anywhere and still get points. Therefore, you can chip away to those 50 points. Finally, this is what I came up with for the reading module scoring breakdown. I would say the multiple choice questions combined would be around 10 or under. It should be under 10 points. And the reorder paragraphs will be no more than 12 points. And that's because you can get a possible of 3 reorder paragraphs. So it's usually going to be under 12 points. And then finally, you can see that the fill in the blanks combined will get you around 30 to 40 points. Because remember, we can't actually score 90 here. So depending on what score you're aiming for, if you need better time management or you can't answer certain questions, now you know what you can sacrifice. And before we go, remember I pointed this out earlier, from that reading and writing fill in the blanks, you can get 30 points in the writing. And if you remember my write from dictation video, from write from dictation itself, you get another 30 to 40 something points from that. So without writing any summaries or any essays, you can score almost 65 with just from reading and listening. Doesn't that just blow your mind? Thank you for watching. If you thought the video was helpful, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel.